Suffering Podcast.
When you take a look behind the curtain, you may see something that you'd rather not. A raw, unfiltered, and unreasonable picture of something that is not ready for public consumption. The voyeur in us cannot help to turn our eyes away when we know we shouldn't be looking. So we remain quiet and peer through that curtain undetected, trying to maintain our sense of silence while containing our excitement and wonder, almost like peering into a different world as an undisrupted passenger. What shall we do with the sneak peek of life? Do we remain quiet or use it for leverage or personal gain? To answer that question, we must use our moral compass and integrity for others' privacy. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Felice, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor. Hit that like button like Tom Flynn hits up the roofie dealer every time he's going for a night on the town. Subscribe to the channel. Please comment. Ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And, of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to when we're up to it. So, Tom, this is it. This is it.
Roofies, huh?
Roofies, yeah, definitely roofies.
And that's not even the worst one.
I had plenty of them in the bank, so whatever, it was going to be something. So, Tom, listen, we're here. We're at the end of season 5. The next 2 episodes were recorded at a different time, and I got something special for everybody, so you're going to want to watch those things. But this is our last recording in the studio for season 5, so I wanted to do something a little bit special. Thank you for coming in here and always coming in here and taking care of this stuff, because one of the things that people don't realize is Tom takes care of a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And
not the roofie part.
He's the guy who goes out and gets the roofies for me. But this is an important one for me. We had 5 full seasons.
Yeah.
We had a lot of different content. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take a look at some of the impactful episodes through the coming attractions that we had throughout the seasons. You pick some, I pick some, and we'll go through them on what was impactful. And, listen, we'll get it done. We'll end this season on a high note.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot to pick from, sure. There's a huge catalog, right?
52.
Yeah.
52.
And just because they were impactful doesn't necessarily mean one guest was better than another. Like, nobody should really be slighted by it, because it's just ones that either connect with me personally, but the audience could have a completely different take on it, right?
I think it's, I didn't put too much thought into it. It's the ones that I could think of off the top of my head, and that's how I know that they just affected me in some way. Sometimes bad, sometimes not. It's not in a good way.
Yeah.
Before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police, and we certainly don't trust anybody as podcasters, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com. Let them find you a car, but also tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So, Tom, listen, last social media question of the year. It's a broad one. Okay, because I've been asked this question several different times by several different people. We have 263 episodes as the recording of this. That is a lot of content to go through. You've probably listened to more episodes than most. I think I may only be the higher. That's because I got to review them anyway. But this one came from Dr. Strange Dove. What was the most impactful episode? You can't pick your own.
Nope.
You can't pick your own, because that's cheating. I think for you, like, what drew you in? Like, what was the one that said, oh, wait, there's something here? What do you think?
So it was before my time, before getting hooked up with the podcast, but the one that jumped out at me, and it was actually pretty quick, it is Amanda Coleman.
Wow.
Irish Angel, because the story...
Now Amanda White.
Amanda White, yes, recently married. So for her, I saw one of the most unique and what we call story arcs, right? You know, you have these things that go down, and then the story generally turns from one downturn into some sort of emerging into success, which hers does, for sure.
Eventually,
but it took a bit to get there. And I noticed you and Mike as well interviewing her, and her arc just kept going down and down and down. And for a part of that, I said, is there ever going to be an upswing on this? And that one, plus the Irish thing, of course, connects with me. But her story, the amount of adversity, unbelievable adversity, and unique stories that I have yet to hear since.
Well, she kept, after she aired and things were going great. It went down some more in her personal life, and now it seems to be on the upswing.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I do talk to her occasionally, but she had some rough times there for a little bit.
I forget what season it was, but it was maybe.
We had her on a couple times. We had her on by herself, and then we had her on. She stopped by the studio.
That's right.
Like by surprise, and we had her on with Stephanie Samuels, and she's always been a great friend of the show, great supporter of the show. She's thrown us a lot of guests. I've met a lot of people through her, and she's always a friend. And I know she's doing well now. I know she's happy. She might not be doing Irish Angel all that much anymore, but every once in a while you'll see her pop up.
And hers was circumstantial and personal.
I thought you were going to say circumcisional.
No, but hers is really one to watch. I think that once you get in that one, you're just begging to see the next follow-up with her or the next episode.
She's infectious.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a little bit self-serving, and it's not impactful in that same way where it hit me in the stomach. I have to go all the way back to February 14th, 2001.
Okay.
And that is episode 9. And that's the first time I had Mike Felice on. The reason it was impactful for me, I'd heard his story. He'd been in group therapy. There was nothing new that he was telling me that I didn't already know. What was impactful for me, because you got to remember, for the first 8 episodes, I was sort of floundering. I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if this was going to last. I had no clue. And when Mike sat across from me in my basement on audio only, I think I re-aired it on episode 199, but I animated it. When he came in there, and it was his interaction with me. It was the way we were able to bounce off of each other, and there wasn't a dull moment. And I've talked about this before on here, but I remember what I used to do. The way I would do it back then was I'd record on a Saturday. I'd go in my garage where it's quiet, and I'd put on headphones, and I'd go through the episode tooth and nail. I'd take out all the ums and ahs, and I'd scrub it, and I'd make it clean as I possibly can. And I remember listening to this, going, "Wow, this is really good. This is really good." Content aside, it was good interaction. And I remember calling Mike up after I went through it. Like, I listened to it twice. I remember calling Mike up, and I go, "Mike, we got something here. We got something."
I remember how you described it afterwards, and I'm sure you remember it too. You described it as lightning in a bottle.
It was one of those things that just doesn't come around very often. And it was at that moment I said, "Hey, Mike, why don't you come in and be the co-host? Why don't you come in and be the co-host? We seem to do this well together." And I know he didn't come in for episode 10. I think he came in for episode 11. And he couldn't come in for whatever reason on episode 13. The reason I know that is because it was Jay Aponte. And it just blossomed from there. When you know, when it feels comfortable and when it feels right. And that felt very right. Towards the end of Mike's life, there was some friction, and that stuff started to rub off. But we always held episode 9 as sort of like the beginning of the podcast. So that's why that's an impactful episode for me. That's why that one will always in my heart. This picture that you see up on screen and right here is actually from episode 9. His Play Like a Champion shirt, which is a Notre Dame shirt, me in my little Vikings hat and my long beard. And God, I was a lot younger then. Not as many wrinkles. But that's in episode 9, and that's why it's impactful, and we made it our logo, and it'll always be the logo.
For sure.
So, Dr. Strange Dove, thank you for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. So, like I said, tonight is all about the celebration of Season 5. I want to get into some coming attractions of some key episodes. You've been here for, I want to say, 98% of the episodes. There was some car trouble.
Yeah.
There was some car trouble there. But once you got through that, you're always here. So there's nobody else that I could do this episode with other than you. And Andrew's got to work the board, so he can't do it. Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Allsup. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryallsup.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
So, Tom, I want to lead this off with you. So why don't you start us off with your first one that really just hit you?
And these are in no particular order, but ones that I like are ones that kind of go off the beaten path. They still stick to the main theme of the show, but it's either a unique perspective of a guest or their professional occupation or their background, and of course their story. And I'll tell you, the one that just jumped out at me was the suffering of a musician with Kenny Dubman. It cuts to my heart, similar musical interests. I'm a frustrated musician without any talent, so that one jumps out at me. And I think the only other professional musician that you had on was Derek Taylor, the rhythm guitarist from Overkill, which is also a great episode, but past season. So,
but that was less about music.
Correct.
It was less about music. It was more about his son, who is autistic, and his son, little Derek, or they call him the boss.
Yeah.
Kenny was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Kenny's different because he has this backstory of divorce, depression, early life, some struggles through there, and then also the struggles with the music business in general and being a creator, because he's actually a songwriter as well as a musician. So it's a little bit of a next level thing, and no slight against Derek. What do you think, Drew? Think you could pull that one up?
What is one thing that surprised you when you got to, say, the B to the A level clubs?
No, nothing really surprised me because you were going to see other bands that were bigger than you. So you always knew what was going on. And it's just, there's nothing different except more people and more money. That's all it is.
But no pressure? Like you didn't feel that pressure or anything? As a young man? That's crazy.
Because you're full of fucking piss and vinegar and testosterone, man. You're like, let's rock.
Yeah.
And you're drinking and you're doing lines and all that other shit. So
you get the rock and roll lifestyle.
You're fired up, dude. I mean, there's never any, well, for us there wasn't, and I think for most other musicians there isn't. Some, I guess, struggle with like, stage fright or insecurity, but we were like, dude, you see that crowd and you're like, the throttle just goes to the floor.
Yeah.
It amps you.
You're fired up.
I know Jim Morrison had a problem with that. He had a huge shyness issue, and he would always have his back to the crowd, and they had to like force him to turn around.
Elvis too. Elvis had stage fright.
That's wild.
Isn't it crazy?
But yeah, the guy who, he still, to the day he died, he had stage fright.
Yeah.
Never would have known that.
Yeah. Yeah, I listen, I could go all day about Elvis, but this is about you. So you start playing. What was in the band Prophet? What was the one thing where you just like, oh my God, we did it, we made it?
I don't know if I ever really had that because getting to a certain level playing clubs and you're playing to these crowds, but we all knew that that was it as a cover band. You're at that level. And that's
you peak
where you're going to stay, and unless you start writing your own stuff, that's the only entree into, tours and theaters and coliseums and making records and all that kind of stuff.
There's something I heard described by musicians and guys in bands that play. They call it the zone, like when you're actually in the zone. Like all the chops are going, like you're hitting every note, and it's almost like you're on autopilot, like you're playing. It's almost like observing yourself from the outside. Is that something that you were finding yourself in?
Yeah, that zone, you could be in a personal zone and having a great night with your own playing and be really happy with it. Or the whole band could be cooking on all cylinders, and that's a whole different level. You know what I mean? So yeah, and that doesn't happen all the time. It happens a small percentage of the time.
Okay, so now you see in that coming attraction, a lot of the things that he talks about music-wise and the music business and struggling through it, there's a connection there.
The funny thing is a little bit of the backstory behind after recording. I had never met Kenny. I knew who he was. He's like New Jersey royalty when it comes to the music industry. And when he came in here, he's all about busting balls. Like, he's just a regular dude. And after the episode, the ball busting did not stop.
It didn't. It was like he was part of the group right off the bat. He was all about it. He was engaged, not only during the episode, but with the podcast afterwards.
The text threads that were going on between you, Kenny, and I were crazy. Calling each other all sorts of names. And I'm like, dude, I don't even fucking know you, man. But it was funny and it was fun.
The best one, and I won't reveal too much because they're private text, but he even recruited his own mother into the joke.
Yes.
What a great guy. And like you're saying, just an average guy going against above average adversity. And he's doing well. His music career is taking off.
What's that movie with Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg?
Oh, yeah.
So his story arc reminds me a lot of Mark Wahlberg in that movie. Mark Wahlberg hit it big. He walks up on stage, becomes a top level. I think it was a hair band or something.
Yeah.
And sort of just
Steel Dragon.
Was that what it was?
Yes.
I can't remember. But sort of just leaves it all away and then finds the love of music that he once had at the end. Yeah. And that's where I see Kenny Dubman with Prophet. He was, through the roof. And then, played a couple different things that had some successes, but now he sort of found that music, that love for music, because he left it for 10 years.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I got to connect the trivia dots here, right? So you mentioned Rockstar, completely organic conversation, unplanned. Zakk Wylde was the guitarist in the movie Rockstar, in Steel Dragon, and then Kenny Dubman also did a duet with Zakk Wylde.
Yes, he did.
As a contributor on one of his tracks. And I'm a huge Zakk Wylde fan.
And he's got a bunch of pedals that Zakk Wylde sent him because they're friends. And it's just this weird New Jersey group. Like, I guess New Jersey musicians are different. Like, New Jersey cops are different from the rest of the world. I guess that's the same with musicians.
Hell yeah. But that's one that sticks out for me.
So I think, the first one I have was Dr. Courtney Evans. Okay, and that was the suffering of divorce recovery. She was somebody who I'd just been seeing some posts. I reached out to her. I said, hey, listen, you got a great message. Would you like to come in? Would you like to sit and talk with us on the podcast? Because I like what you do. And that was the extent of my conversation with her. And that was the extent of the grab and the gravity. And boy, when she came in here, she did not disappoint. Drew, you want to play that coming attraction for Dr. Courtney Evans?
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Nobody wants to get divorced.
I can change him.
At its core, divorce is a failure.
Yes.
You feel like a complete failure. You go into this thing with the best of intentions.
I do not believe in fairy tales.
But somebody said between 45 and 65%, I think.
It's closer to 65 to 70%.
So if you're going to Atlantic City or if you're going to Vegas, would you ever lay down a bet where 65 to 75% of the odds are against you?
I am a child of parents who stayed together for the kid, fought constantly. I was always in the middle of it. My childhood kind of showed me what the picture of marriage was. Your nervous system gets used to the chaos, so it clings to chaos to make you feel safe. So silence is actually terrifying to you. So when things feel good or you feel loved and safe and cared about, you look for ways to create chaos so that your nervous system comes back down because that's what it's used to. Love for me was very conditional as a child. It was conditioned upon how clean your room was, how well you did your chores, how short your hair was, how skinny you were, what clothes you were wearing. It was always very conditional upon that. One or the other would threaten divorce. There would be, bags on the front porch, packing, we're leaving. Yelling and screaming was the way you worked things out.
That word for me, I mean, it has to be bad for that to come out of my mouth.
I was never quite good enough with most of the things that I did. Kind of back to childhood, my hair was never the right way. My weight was never the right way. It was always some sort of a problem. I have to marry him. I know there's red flags. I know we're not made for each other, but I have to do this because if I don't, then I'm a failure.
You watched in real time as this thing just went away.
If you're used to a certain environment, your body adapts to that environment, and then that's what it will seek out to make you feel safe.
You become like an addict, right? An addict always thinks they're going to beat the system, right? And that's what people from broken households believe. They're like, I'm going to beat the system. I'm never going to be like, well.
There is no way in hell I'm staying in this. No way.
It was such a great conversation because she's so easy to get along with. She's got that Southern drawl, and she's very, very knowledgeable about it.
A doctorate of nursing, I believe, was her professional credential or educational credentials. And she talks about reinventing or rewriting the story. I mean, reinvent yourself is kind of vague, but the way she put it, the engaging dialogue, and you said the Southern drawl, there's a little Southern charm there. I think she might even have thrown a bless your heart in there, which is the Southern way of telling you to go F yourself.
Well, so when you're sitting in this studio, there are several times when it just works and it clicks. And then there's other times where you feel like a rusty gate. She was one where it was very smooth. She got my sense of humor, which not everybody gets. And it was just a great conversation with some really good facts. Like, she had personal knowledge through her work of the divorce rates, which are higher than I thought they were. So, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how we bring our past into our current life and how that impacts us. And that was from her childhood, how she viewed family dynamics and things like that. And it was just a great lesson for me because it's either going to make your marriage stronger or realize you need to get out.
Yeah. Yeah, the divorce part obviously struck a chord with me. That was not lost on Tom Flynn, I could tell you that.
Well, you had a lot in common with her husband, too.
Really, yeah. And even when we have these sort of after recording conversations, I realized the depths of what he went through as well.
That's what people don't realize. You get a guest in here, and we were just talking about this with one guest that we had a long time ago. Guy had a great story, and he does genuinely have a great story. But he got in front of the camera and he got in front of the microphone and he clammed up tighter than a frog's ass.
There you go.
I mean, you couldn't get nothing by him. Yeah. And then we went out in the parking lot and had our after conversation, pleasantries and stuff. And he just threw it all up. I'm like, where the fuck were you when we were recording?
Yeah. We talk about the professionals and the high profile people and the quality of guests and how they present on camera. Courtney just was not a professional podcaster or a professional speaker, but an author, but just came across as just very genuine, dynamic, and engaging the whole time. And I guess that's what makes the difference between some of the guests. The everyday people, if they're able to have a great story and then able to communicate it as well, and it just makes for an amazing episode. So yeah, that's a good one too. It wasn't on my list, but definitely one I enjoyed.
So what do you got? What's your next one?
So the next one I think I really think was groundbreaking for the show was the episode that almost never happened. And that was the suffering of the worst offense.
Oh, wow.
And we had, and you sought out, opinions from the rest of our group and me as well as to, this has never been done before, but should we do it?
Right. Just because it can be done doesn't mean it should be done.
It touched upon a lot of things that should not be taboo, yet are. And we were concerned about the platform, about the platforms that we broadcast on, both audio and YouTube. But what do you think, Drew? Maybe we should play that one now to get a little feel for that one. Like, listen, hey, I can say I fought my battle, or, this thing, whatever God chose to put in front of me, this event, and it changes the trajectory of a child in through manhood, adulthood, Now, are those two things kind of running neck and neck in your head as you're
again
wrestling with it?
Trying to figure out that puzzle, that enigma that is a child sexual predator.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it and I'm saying, what? Oh my God. And then you start. So when you had your children, when your children are babies, especially your first one, you're holding that baby in your hand and you're thinking about because you're a protector, right? So you're a police officer, you're a protector. And I guarantee it went through your head at some point saying, if anybody touches this little precious miracle of a baby,
Mm-hmm.
what did you tell yourself? What were those thoughts in your head? I know exactly what my thoughts were in my head. I still remember it.
I would probably lose self-control. I don't know if there's a way that I would be able
There's
to
a defense for that. It's passion provocation.
When my oldest daughter was young, and I witnessed an incident. It was on Christmas Day, as a matter of fact, and there was another kid around her, a boy, and she's holding a Christmas present, and we coddled the firstborn. This little kid is a child, right? So you got to give it a little bit of play there. Comes up to her, smacks the Christmas present out of her hands. She starts to cry, and the little kid comes back and then laughs at her.
Ooh.
I don't know how I controlled myself during that time, but I did. Now, obviously, sexual assault. The other euphemism that they use for child abuse is CA.
CA, which is, again, nonsense.
Euphemisms hide the raw, real pain.
It's a visceral word, and it's supposed to elicit a response that almost makes you want to throw up.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to do. And by giving them initials, it's not making the problem go away.
No.
I don't care who I offend. Geez, did I worry about who I was going to offend while I was going through it? No.
Deep, deep things. And that one...
We didn't even have a guest in here. It was just you and I, but there's backstory to it.
Right.
So the backstory is a guy had reached out to me through email, through my website or whatever it was. And he was a sex offender.
Yeah.
All right. And being a child of a victim of, or survivor of sexual assault, I'm listening to him and he wants to come and talk about it. And I'm like, and I looked him up and sure enough, he was a sex offender, lived out in Ohio.
Yeah.
I wrestled with that one and I sought counsel and I sought genuine counsel, but there was something in me that really wanted to do it. I just didn't know how to do it.
And you got varying answers, I think, from our core.
Yep.
Whether yes, no, and you had to wrestle with that decision ultimately.
I couldn't get a clear answer because there was the part of me that says we shouldn't, but the logical part of me saying you can't tell a story by only hearing one side. You can't, if you were to hear the story of World War II from Adolf Hitler, you would hear a very different story than we know, right?
Of course.
So you got to look at both sides of it. It doesn't mean that there's a reason. It doesn't even mean their reasons are valid, but allow that conversation to take place. Now, if you haven't looked at my Instagram, there was some repercussions. Do you remember what the repercussions of that was?
I do remember a comment being made.
An email.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So what happened is this guy, his parole officer would not allow him to leave the state.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of got screwed with a guest. But there was a part of me going, well, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to talk about this stuff anyway because it needs to get talked. I was ready to talk about it. And we do our episode, and I think that was a fantastic episode. I think the back and forth and the topic stuff was amazing. So it airs. I get an email from this guy just blasting me, saying I didn't want to listen to him. I was there to make him look bad. Like, dude, no, you made yourself look bad.
Yeah, the actions, which we were not here to justify by any stretch of the imagination. The criticism could come, you're glorifying the act or you're minimizing the act, or do they even deserve their side? And my point of view was that we are looking at monsters are real. Monsters can be human, and humans can be the most dangerous animal or monster of them all. It's not to say that what they did was justified, but to unravel the evil or the inner workings of the sinister mind. And that's part of getting to the heart of the problem. Find out what makes a predator or an offender tick, just like the behavioral science unit from the FBI, how they start profiling and just getting the inner workings.
I want to see what's up here. I want to take a look into the window of darkness. I want to see how that mechanism works. And that's what I wanted to do with him. But that, and I remember you saying something, I remember verbiage in that episode, nothing but a full-throated, contrite owning of, I don't know what the words after, but full-throated and contrite were in there.
Yeah.
And I actually prepped the guy. I was like, you got to own it. Like, you can't come in here and pussyfoot around this stuff. You got to own it. That's the only way this is going to work, because you are not a sympathetic character.
We do that with our own stories. A platform that I was just on, I saw a ton of comments that, I didn't take accountability for what my role is in my whole story. And I did have a role. And I think it's important that you do that. If you are going to go out there, I believe I did. I would disagree with some of the commenters, but yes, I do take responsibility for what my role is. Now,
you have to.
Now, should I have gotten what I had gotten and the way I was treated? I believe it was a complete injustice and a miscarriage of justice on the exponential level. But there was a part of ownership on my part. Maybe perhaps not being the best husband. But that's about it.
The battles we fight are hard and taxing on the soul. Fighting a battle that seems impossible to win. The stressful calls that give us wounds that cannot be seen.
These moments leave scars. They leave dents. Sometimes we just need to sit and talk over coffee.
Finding a moment of peace in the comfort of decompression with those whom you share difficulties. Sharing moments with those who are the only ones who understand. Our peace comes in the quiet moments we can share with our brothers and sisters.
It's just a moment to sit, listen, and let it out. We may be dented, but we are not broken. The Suffering Podcast, Dented Ace Coffee, was created to bring the peace to the protectors. Dented Ace Coffee is a tribute to my brother Mike Felice and all the others who couldn't find their peace. 100% of the proceeds will go directly to Dented Development Project so that we can begin to repair the dents caused by suffering in veterans, first responders, and their families. The Suffering Podcast's Dented Ace Coffee. Get yours today by visiting thesufferingpodcast.com.
It was somebody like this guy, but that email he sent me, there was no ownership. And I realized that him not being able to come in was such a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Because we were putting our name on the line. We were putting the reputation of this podcast on the line. So the fact that he didn't come in, and that subsequent email, which I read on Instagram Live for the first time. I hadn't read it before then, but I actually, that's not true. I read the first paragraph. I'm like, oh, okay. And I read it on Instagram Live.
Risky in and of itself.
Yeah. It gave me enough of a look inside, just real evil.
And we would have never have gotten that full-throated, contrite admission and ownership of the offense.
Not even close. So we'll go on to something a little bit happier. Well, it's not even happy. And I was looking back over the episodes, going through this stuff, and a text message popped up, and I'm like, ooh, there's one. From Eric Perluke, Loomis.
Yeah.
Okay. He came in here, and I connected to Eric. He reached out to me, watched Soft White Underbelly, and reached out to me, and I got a good feeling. Like, I went by my gut. I had a good feeling. And I went on his show, and I said, hey, listen, why don't you come on my show too? Because he had his whole backstory and his whole issues. Even though he was doing this documentary on Russell Buffalino, He had his whole backstory in there of addiction and just really behavior that was reckless, careless, however you want to put it. Hey, before we get into it, let's take a look at it. Why don't you air that? It's The Suffering of Trust with Eric Perluke.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
You know him as Loomis.
It was just when I started drinking and I started getting buzzed up, I needed to get that cocaine. I was more the wild child, but then eventually, though, everything, though, just fell off the wheels.
What is it about the high that draws you in?
It made me feel whole. It made me feel like whatever that void that you were talking about earlier right here, it would go away. But it started off as marijuana, then it got, then with the booze. The cocaine just naturally, though, just came with drinking. Remember, I used to get on my hand and knees and pray to God to take me. Like I wanted him to kill me. If I had my guns at my house the one night, I absolutely would have blown my head off. I didn't want to hang myself. I'm the type of guy, if I'm going to kill myself, it has to be quick.
Every addict, I'm talking every single addict, will say to themselves, that's not going to be me.
Oh, yeah, I can't believe that. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And you think you can beat the system. Nobody takes cocaine and says, I hope I overdose. Tell me one true story of somebody who is in true addict mode that says, wow, that really worked out the way that I expected it.
I got clean, everything was going good, but all I was doing, though, was trying to play God, helping others, and I wasn't looking at into myself.
You know, sometimes it just never turns.
Well, and every time, though, when I come by the house, though, like, you know, with my mom had to go upstairs and use the bathroom, she'd take her purse with her. It was more of a white knuckle, I'm clean, so let me preach to you, and this and that. And then there was a time where I lied about, though, being clean. They absolutely knew, but they just didn't know, though, to the degree. Yeah, everyone's just dropping dead.
You know, we all trip, we all fall, but if we don't learn anything from trying to pick ourselves up, it's really a wasted opportunity. So there you see him, and going back to our previous one with the worst offense, Eric is there and he owns everything that he does. He owns all his bad behavior, and that's what I love about that guy.
Yeah, from the addiction, going through it, and even some of the bad behavior that's the result of addiction. Now, are you in your right frame of mind? No, but he owned it and then tells his story in order to perhaps give guidance or enlightenment to somebody else who's going through the same thing. And plus, he's got this amazing backstory and trust being involved with, families that are organized crime members. So right. He is the conservator trustee of the Buffalino family and has a notable notoriety story with the connection to the Irishman.
Right, so
Russell Buffalino.
It wasn't only trust for Joe Buffalino, who is Russell's nephew. It was also the trust for his parents and stuff. And here's a backstory. People come in here and I get to know them. I have lots of conversations with them prior to them recording, and you get to really feel for these people. Well, sadly enough, Eric's father, Eric's been sober, I believe, for 3 years, 2 years, something like that. Maybe even 4 years. But his father just passed. His father was very, very important to him. But his father got to see him clean and really head on this path to success. But Eric dropped off the face of the earth. He dropped off the face of the earth for like 2 weeks. And I remember it was during football season. And I'm getting calls from a couple of his different friends. Hey, I can't get in touch with him. So you have an addict who's not communicating with people who we know that will hold him accountable. I'm thinking the worst. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
I'm sending him text messages. Hey, listen, man, I need to talk to you. I need to talk. I was a day away from driving out to his house in Pennsylvania and just going and grabbing him and saying, okay, making sure you're okay. Because I was afraid he fell back into addiction.
Yeah, I had some concerns too. I definitely sent condolences on a DM to him, and we had a lot of overlap in music again. Mm-hmm. He's a huge Ozzy Osbourne fan, hard rock, and all that, and that seemed to be one of his outlets that got him through. In addition to the stuff that he's doing with the Buffalino family, but we had some great conversations about music in general. So
he's a huge Ozzy fan. So like Ozzy's death hit him really hard.
Yeah. What his pet was named after Ozzy.
It's just funny how we get to know these people on such a deeper level, and out of 200 and say 250 guests, because we did some double episodes, 250 guests. I mean, I stay in communication with so many of them.
They are interesting above and beyond the story that comes out, and you like to see where they're going to go afterwards. Sometimes be a return guest and follow up, and you're doing some work with him too. So there's more to be seen on that front.
Yeah, something's coming out, I think, very, very soon, which I'm excited to see. I'm just waiting for him to send it to me. But yeah, we did some stuff together, and we're going to continue to do some stuff together because he's a good guy. There's not too many people in this business that you can trust.
Yeah.
He's one of them. So what do you got there, Tom?
So one that I think hits us both hard, even if it's not on your list. I think it was one that we had a lot of common ground, and it was the suffering of a post-police career.
Oh, yeah.
So we both have our sort of stories on how we thought we were going to finish our journey in law enforcement, full to retirement. But maybe before I speak any further, Drew, you want to pull that one up too?
This is going to hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
The thin blue line is a lot thinner than people might think.
I was racked with anxiety.
They're going to test you a little bit.
Someday, you are going to have to retire, whether you age out or whether you get your 25 in or whether you do your 20 or your 30. Sometime you're going to age out. So it's inevitable that we are going to somehow have to leave a job that we love. Tough shit.
You're getting a backstage pass to the show of life.
Hey, I found my career. This is what I've been working for. This is what I want.
You want to see all the good, the bad, the ugly, and somehow be a part of making it better.
I think every first responder deals with this at one point in their life. You're not a cop anymore. Too young to retire, too old to keep doing your profession, but you got to find something.
I felt like my life was entirely boring without purpose.
Well, that's a job they make movies about.
It throws off your whole life planning.
You're sort of just left out in the open. I was 39 years old when I retired. I had no freaking clue what the hell I was going to do.
I used to, save people's lives from burning cars and crush people's chests to try and put life back in their heart.
You did things that when people drive down the road and they rubberneck and they're trying to see beyond the lights, you were actually there and you got that front row seat. Life has a way of throwing you some curveballs. I've watched cops go through one of the most anxiety-filled moments of their life because they have to retire. And they don't know what to do because they put their whole life into something that definitely has an end date.
Backfires in my mind every time.
Because there was two types of cops. There was those cops that were counting down the days till they hit their 25.
Yeah.
And then there were the other cops that they have no plans in the world of ever leaving because they don't know what to do.
Drives me up a wall.
Hit that like button like Tom Flynn hits the Rogaine aisle at his local drugstore. Subscribe to the channel. Please comment. Ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join.
So there you go, right? The game plan is not always yours. And, you and I, I'm sure, had very different plans for the clap out and, how our police career was going to end. And you and I are a little different. I had similar plans. Like, I had a plan of what I was going to do afterwards. And we go through a lot of the dynamics there where they don't have a plan. But for you and I, we were thrust into it right away. Like, you got it. You can't wait to have an after retirement plan. Your plan comes now.
They're different in the effect you had to pick yourself up being arrested, having a prisoner number. Mine was, I was young. I had a little bit of a plan, but I was also, 12 years away from retirement, minimum. So I had time to work that plan. But, William Blake says the best laid plans of mice and men can often go awry. And that's exactly what happened for both of us. One day you went to work and then the next day you never went back.
Yeah.
And that's a hard stop. There's no easing into that secondary life. You're ba-boom, ba-boom. And you get thrust into this situation where I always tell people it's like standing in the desert with nothing around you. And you're like, well, you got no compass, no waypoint. You're like, what do I do now?
For me, it was tough because a lot of roads came to an intersection of various parts of my life all at once. Lots of cops lose their jobs. Lots of cops get arrested for perhaps doing something wrong. And sometimes maybe there is a miscarriage of justice. Your career, your family, your marriage, your freedom, potentially me for the rest of my functional life was hanging in the balance.
It's not all it was hanging in the balance.
Yeah.
Your pretty little ass in prison was hanging in the balance, my friend.
But a lot of roads from your past trauma came into an intersection with yours as well. And your police incident just kind of effervesced and bubbled those up to the top. So you had a lot of crossroads coming too.
I'm in a little bit different situation. My post-police career, while it was difficult for me in the beginning, I see what happened. I see it as a blessing. I see it as something that put me here. I see it as something that brings me out to go speak to police departments with Sherry or go on different shows. So it was a very unplanned for springboard. It took me a while to see that. Okay, yeah. I did not, first 7-8 years, I certainly did not see that. It took me some time. You're still working out of that stuff. So you're still dealing with a lot of the crap that came from you losing that job. So the different times, but in time, I fully believe, and I would put every cent in my bank account on this. That's where you'll go as well.
From your lips to God's ears, I hope.
So this one horrified me. This one was the scariest one. And it's just this little petite woman sitting across from me. And that is Dr. Dorothy Nowitzki, the suffering of a forensic psychologist. Now, what Dr. Nowitzki does is she gets hired by lawyers and she goes into these facilities where these sexual predators live, and she has to go evaluate these people. So she has to sit across from these people and look for their humanity. And I was like, you know what? The coming attraction will tell it best. Drew, why don't you run that coming attraction? This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast. So I've had people in here who have had some serious heavy-duty trauma. I've had people that have experienced lost limbs, sexual assault, homicide. That might be the worst thing I ever heard.
I'm outnumbered, right? And I can't show weakness, right? I have to say, okay, that was not appropriate. So I was mortified. I found a lot of solace in books when I was 8 and 9. So whether you think of Stephen King, like It books, or like John Douglas kind of books, Helter Skelter, right?
What is it about reading a book like that that sort of piqued your interest?
That's probably how my path was formed. I realized in that moment that I very much was dissociating enough to pay attention, but also not have an emotional response to it.
Do your personal feelings ever weigh in on stuff like that? You have to remove yourself from humanity for a moment.
Very much so.
These people are out of their mind.
It gets better. And then another person came up to me, like trying to be, I guess, polite to me. And he shook my hand, which I learned at that point why we should not shake hands.
Oh no.
How did this happen? Blood draining from my face.
You're trying to unlock the human genome, is to say, okay, what makes a person commit these horrific crimes?
That's really what I think just really piqued my interest into the human psyche.
You want to know why?
I don't believe people are born bad, right? I don't believe people are predisposed to commit these heinous acts.
Is it a morbid fascination with it? I don't know if that's the right term.
There was no fear in reading that, and I think a lot of it is meant to be fear-inducing, right? We're supposed to be shocked. We're supposed to be like in disbelief, right? For me, it was more of, how did this happen?
Getting into the mind of some craziness.
Most people that get charged with sex offenses, they will be back out in the community.
Not everybody can hear that stuff.
Okay, you cannot cry right now. I wanted to cry or run away.
So can you just imagine this petite woman going into these these savage cages, having to sit face to face. Like we wrestled with that when we had that potential sex offender coming in. We wrestled with that for so long. She goes in there willingly, and she has to sit there and look for some good in somebody who has done the worst of the worst. And these people, all they have all day long, they have all the time in the world to think about ways to manipulate. So she has to be one of the strongest people I know, because otherwise they'll turn her. She'll be Harley Quinn.
Yeah. The amazing thing about Dr. Nowitzki is a very engaging, pleasant, well-adjusted, professional woman. But like we talk about in law enforcement, and I always use sort of this old evidence thing, something is either left or taken from the scene. And when we go on calls, and we've had traumatic calls, it leaves a dent, as we say. And for her, I can't see how it has to affect her in some way. And I'm sort of amazed at how she reconciles staring into the face of evil, and not just temporarily. She has an in-depth analysis that has to be brought before a court, a forensic analysis of whether an offender should remain at one tier, go maybe up a tier.
Well, I learned
down a
that
tier.
tiering system. I didn't know that tiering system like that, and how they were qualified and classified. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
Who has to register for Megan's Law? Who has to register as a sex offender? And there's a time limit for that stuff. I didn't know all that, so I learned a lot of stuff. The funny thing about what I learned and how she does it, here's what I've learned about Dr. Nowitzki, is she's able, and God, if police were able to do this, we'd have much healthier police, to completely disassociate herself, step into that clinical role, that doctor role, and then go home. She's got a family.
Yeah.
Her husband's a cop. She's got 2 kids. To step in that family role, go make dinner, and go be mom. There were times I came home and I couldn't be dad. I was just blown away by what I just saw, and she has to do that on a daily basis. That's the one. It stuck in me. Yeah. It's like a bad case of indigestion. It's stuck in me.
And for sure. And she has to go so deep into it because it has to be presented before a court or another hearing authority. So it's like she doesn't scratch the surface of it. Mm-hmm. She goes deep into the face of evil.
She doesn't just pull the Band-Aid off. She rips the scar off as well.
Yeah.
So what's your next one, Tom?
So I think getting back on the lighter side, this was an episode that I think could be best described as controlled chaos, but I would say it would even be uncontrolled or just chaos. But I like when the 4 of us are together, and believe it or not, it's more difficult than you might think to get the 4 of us in the same room at the same time.
It was the first time in the studio. The last one that we just did, it was the first time in the studio where all 4 of us were sitting here.
Yeah. And that is The Suffering of Rants.
1 and 2.
And 2, a 2-parter. So, Drew, against my better judgment, let's get the coming attraction on that, but then there's some commentary afterwards. Pull that one up.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
I would have started eating ass at least a decade ago.
What the fuck? I talk about the 3 of you guys all the time, but we have never been on camera all at once. What we're gonna do is everybody has 2 minutes to do a coherent rant. Dude, Flynn's hair is fucking Jack Nicholson from The Shining.
Please don't.
It is.
No, please don't.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you couldn't do squats on a cucumber patch with those.
Mike's wearing skinny jeans. It's throwing everybody off.
I am not. These are stylish. I don't even know. I don't even have my phone.
I want you to go full hurricane.
Like right now, he's sitting a little too close to me, and I'm uncomfortable.
All right, Andrew, give us a topic. Any topic, random topic, and we got to rant on it.
How about celebrities?
Now with social media, celebrities are in our face more than ever. You used to see them on the news, this and that. If they said something, who gave a fuck?
I don't really want to hear their thoughts.
Fuck these celebrities. How about that?
Exactly what you said and exactly what you said. Hypocrisy.
You can't just flip the switch and change. Oh, well, we just lost half of Hawaii. Fucking Palmer showed up. Flynn's house. You don't have to time me. I don't need 2 minutes. I'm thinking to myself, man, people have gone in there and just never came out. Ving Rhames and Bruce Willis are definitely down there right now. Fucking with red balls in their mouth.
So if your life was a movie or a book title, what would it be, and who would play you?
You motherfucker.
Mike, calm down. No one's touching you.
Run, don't walk, and go hit the like button like young men run out of Tom's house when he invites him over for dinner. This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast. What's next?
If I unleashed on this podcast, wow, forget it.
You're a caveman.
I can't even say the things I really want to say.
You were going great. Everything was great. You're having your love affair over here, and he said some really smart things, which was kind of surprising. But you're fucking, you're doing great. And then you say that.
You questioning my normality? Serious.
I would never question your normality.
I think you prepped for that one,
very
didn't you?
profound.
I think you're fucked up.
Because I was thinking some wild shit's gonna come out of your mouth.
If I had no filter whatsoever years ago.
Yeah, you don't have a filter now. Oh, he hates my guts.
I'm blocking you after this.
You do sound like you're gargling a dick.
Seriously?
But I'm interested in to find out what your 2-minute rant is going to be on sex.
Well, I'm going to channel Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
Did you beat it to Dr. Ruth?
Then I was just automatically introduced to my best sex partner, who was me.
Any piece of technology that has ever been invented was immediately used for pornography. He's going.
Sex is what brought the most beautiful things in our lives.
So when I think about sex, I think of cock rings.
If you were to have a superpower, what would it be?
Time travel into people's bedrooms when they're fucking and stuff like that. See that?
It's the power to heal.
Mind reading.
I think one of the greatest superpowers in the world is to actually have that ability to really, truly not give a fuck what other people think. You're just gonna go on digital creators.
It's annoying. It's like we're creating things for people to be that have no meaning whatsoever.
It's just a regurgitation, but there is no creativity to it. You get to sit down with 3 people for dinner, a meeting, a talk. Who would those 3 people be?
I want to sit down with Adolf Hitler.
Jack the Ripper.
Mike Tyson.
John Holmes.
I think I'm on a roll tonight.
Wow.
Oh, wait a second. Gary and Ace right here on Catching Eyes, the ambiguously gay duo.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't learn a fucking thing from anybody in here.
Yeah. So when I think this is the one that probably should go in the dictionary when they go not safe for work.
Oh yeah, there needs to be an age restriction on this one.
Yeah, but we got to get out of sort of the darkness that we do talk about. I think they're not only great episodes, they're essential.
They're freeing. We need to cleanse our soul. That's how we empty our glass. You know, I talk about that glass, that ability to take only so much trauma before it just spills over. And that's what they do. We just get it out. We can riff. But, you know, it does something. So people don't realize this ranting, and this is a Bobby Crudell thing, although he talks about sexual innuendo more than I've ever heard anybody talk about it in my life. God, if he eats ass as much as he says he does, his teeth are going to be brown. But nevertheless, one of the things that it does for a podcaster, such as myself and such as you, is going to talk about a topic undisturbed, uninterrupted for 2 minutes and trying to make a coherent thought. It's really, we're practicing our chops.
Yeah.
You know, it becomes, that's why I love those rant episodes, because it's us practicing thinking on the fly, thinking fast, thinking, you know, out of the box and coming up with something palatable.
Yeah, in the time frame. So there's a little bit of a contest there as well. But on the emotional side, I think it shows that it's funny, like we talk about gallows humor all the time in the police world. And the thing that I think has the group of 4 together, because as you know, we argue, we disagree, sometimes profoundly, sometimes...
That's what family does.
Yeah, and it's not in the King's English.
No.
But
No.
the trauma bonds that we have is it just one of the uniting factors. And some of the, the best friends you don't talk to every day, or time goes by and there's no conversation, or there's an argument, or there's a disagreement, and time goes on. For me, at least, that friendship is not ever over. It's worth saving, and I think there are very unique dynamic between the four of us. And, the story you'll hear, or the saying that you hear, is like, hey, man, I got your back. I got your back. I got your back, or I got your six if you're a military guy. For me, and I put it on my mug, somebody can have your back, but I think someone who is your friend has your spine. And that's bigger than having your back, because you can have somebody's back, and you experienced it in your shooting. You're supposed to have my back, but then you turn around. That guy didn't have your spine. Somebody else very close to me told me that I've got your spine, and that resonated with me, and that's why I put it on the mug.
Or if you channel Crudell, he's got your leather Cheerio.
Yeah, it's a good thing he's not here, because I wouldn't able to get a word in edgewise.
It's four distinct personalities, four very, very different personalities, and it works well on camera. When the guys don't have side conversations like they were having, I'm like, come on, guys, let's go. So it's like wrangling,
cats.
Yeah, it's like herding cats. It's exactly what it is. But they're fun. People seem to like them. I like them. A lot of the times, those types of episodes, and this is going to sound very cold-hearted, I don't care what people like. I like it.
Yeah,
and that's what I want. I'm having a good time. And I need to have that good time, because I hear some heavy shit in here.
Yeah. A good one, for sure.
So next, one of the women who has impacted my life, outside of my wife and outside of my family, who has impacted my life greatly, is Sherry Allsup. Sherry was a guest in here on 169. That was her first go-round. And you heard this story. You're like, oh, my God. And then she came back in, I think it's 229, season 5, where we came in here and we started talking about our trauma-informed training class and what we do when we go out to these police departments. Our last trip was out to Joplin, Missouri, and I think our first trip next year is to Greer, South Carolina. And we've been all over this country. We've been to Hawaii, we've been to California, we've been to Missouri, Louisiana, just everywhere. To Arizona. It's crazy. Sometimes I don't. You actually know better where I went, because you took me to the airport. You know what? Let's hear it from Sherry's mouth. Drew, run that clip for the suffering of trauma-informed training.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
We've been doing this stuff all over the country, teaching these classes about trauma-informed training. But the way you do it is second to none.
I'm a survivor of long-term incest, sexual assault, sexual abuse, all kinds of sex crimes, physical, mental, verbal.
I remember hearing this story, and I've heard some really awful stories in this studio. I remember hearing your story going, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is insane.
And the fallout from that encompasses every decision in your life that you make. I struggled in the what I could have been, or what I should have done, but it was just a life filled with trauma and fallout.
But people don't realize that, oh great, you got out. Well, no, not really.
Yeah, and just because you get out the door doesn't mean it's over. And I tell people often, when it's over, it's just beginning.
It's like you get out of the lion's den, but you got a bear trap around your ankle, and you're just dragging it along,
Yes.
and you're picking up all this stuff, and it hurts like hell. But you don't want to do it because you're trying to survive, because that's what you've been in. You've been in survival mode.
People don't want to talk about it. And that's why we're in the mess we're in as a country with this.
We're watering things down. Who are you trying to protect? You're certainly not going to protect me. I don't need protection like that. Words don't hurt me.
I have the knowledge that you can't get from a book.
Because of people like you who dare to take that little chance, it gives hope to other people. What it does is it gives people a little bit of empowerment.
I have full memory of my abuse.
So Sherry's such an amazing person. And as we record this, she is flying out to California to go on the Soft White Underbelly. And
We'll have 3 alumni sitting right here.
We'll have 3 alumni. And her story is tailor-made for that channel. And I've been working with Mark Leda trying to get her there for some time. Everything's sort of aligned. And she is going to blow people away. I've sat in classrooms with Sherry when she tells her story. I know her story very, very well. And she is still able, as a 64-year-old woman, she is able to make me blush with some of the verbiage that she used because she doesn't hold back. She just tells it exactly like it is. And I think that's part of her charm.
Another one that the recovery portion, such an engaging, charming person, looks beyond herself. I remember your book signing. She came up to me, and I remember introducing myself, said hi, told her who I was.
Flew here from Texas.
Yeah, and very engaging, socially well-adjusted. You could never even imagine what she'd been through, but I just wanted, and she knew my story. And she goes, I'm so sorry. I hope everything works out with your daughters and all these other. I said, my God, this woman that has been through horrors that I could not even imagine still has that compassion and empathy to do so. And there's something in her syllabus, and I don't know if she said it on the show, but people that are involved or traumatized to that level survive by living plan to plan.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that really resonated because, you're supposed to have a plan, and I never would have thought to say it that way. You live moment by moment, day to day. But she said live plan to plan. And I think that's a pretty prophetic statement.
Well, with the way her life worked is, okay, I from a little kid, okay, if I can just run away and get out of this household, that's a plan. She's not thinking beyond that, where she's going to go, where she's going to stay. She can't think that far ahead because of the trauma. But you also have to understand that Sherry, and I hope I'm not letting too much of her personal life out, Sherry has been dragging, she got out of the lion's den. I say it in the coming attraction. You get out of the lion's den, but you're dragging around a bear trap that your legs caught in there, and it hurts, and you're picking up all this stuff along the way. And that's been Sherry's life. She spent the last 10 years of her life going out and telling this story. And I think that gives her a lot more relief. She's like a sister to me. She's as close to a sister as I don't have a sister, but if I had a sister, it would be Sherry, because we're good for each other. When we're on the road, we'll sit there and we understand each other. When we're in class, we work very well together. We bounce off of each other. That's that lightning in a bottle that we spoke about before. Ever since the first time I went out with her to Thibodaux, Louisiana, and she offered me the opportunity to go speak, it's been that way ever since. And man, was 2025, man, was that busy. We were everywhere. And after a while, you pick certain things up. But one of the things with Sherry, and this is a little behind the scenes thing, I've watched her story. I've watched her let out stuff that she wasn't ready to let out. And she's let it out in front of classrooms. And every once in a while, I'm sitting in class and I'm listening, and something new will come out. And I'm like, oh, wait, hang on a second. I didn't know that. So there's a lot more to her story that's not good. There's a lot more to it that she hasn't said on this show. So I'm hoping to bring her back during season 6.
Yeah, that would be great.
And maybe bring that stuff out of her.
For sure.
Yeah. So what do you got, Tom?
So another one really sticks out at me, and I connect on, things that overlap in my story as well. And I feel it's the injustice. When you really see somebody who is done dirty by an institution, whether it be family court, criminal justice system, and now you got another one that I feel connects on my level, and that was the suffering of a cop's parent with Barbara and Salvatore Drew Aldrotti.
Yeah.
And maybe before I even get into it, we should play the coming attraction. Drew, you want to pull that one up too?
So Drew, somebody like you who has seen the worst of the worst. All right. And the one problem with police is you have to shut down your emotions whenever you're at a difficult scene. You have to shut down your emotions, do your job. So what happens to police officers a lot of times is you shut down your emotions in your home life too, because you're so used to doing it. It's counterintuitive to human behavior. How hard was it? Could you shut down your emotions because your son was involved in this?
I did the best I could do. I mean, you become callous to a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, your son's involved. You're like, oh man, it's your kid. But you try to be firm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you try to be
stoic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you try to, yeah, okay, everything's good. Everything's good, bro. Don't worry. You know, everything's good. And you give him that support he needs, that lift up, and he's good to go. You know.
Do you think it's the right thing that we do with one another?
That's how it's always been, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be like, yeah, I'm a man.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of them things. But really, a lot of people really need more than that, a lot more than that.
Right.
And you see later on down the road, people who suffer from post-traumatic stress injury don't get the proper help that they need.
Mm-hmm. My partner.
Yeah.
My partner. He's a prime example. He just took his life on May 19th.
Yeah, sorry.
Or May 9th. I'm sorry, guys.
It's tragic.
It's tragic because we hurt inside. We suffer in silence. Now, Salvatore, did he have any after effects from that incident?
No, I mean, I'm sure if and you can't say it didn't affect him, but it didn't affect him where he couldn't go out and do his job or was afraid to do his job. Mm-hmm. You know, if anything, it motivated him more to be like, okay, you know, this is what I have to do. I have to be able to protect my fellow officers, protect the fellow community. I mean, it just made him more motivated.
So for him, it killed maybe a little bit of complacency that was coming in. You know, because we all get complacent. Listen, you see one incident 100 times and you're like, oh, okay, there's another one.
Right. I think for him in Camden, it was such a good training.
Yeah, he was full of piss and vinegar because he was young.
Yeah.
And he wanted to be there. You know, them guys, first answer up on the job, last to show up. You know, if he answered up last on the job, he'd be the first one there. Like, you know, he's just one of them guys.
But it was such a good training for him because it wasn't just like a local town where you get complacent, like, oh, it's another car stop. And I always would tell him, it doesn't matter what car stop, if you see a senior citizen in there, you always have to assume that maybe they're not on their medication or something's wrong, or you always have to assume that they may hurt you. So you always have to, don't get complacent. And, you know, I think that was one of the things he really did strive for, was not to just sit back and just take a night or a shift. Just like, oh, I'll make it home in the morning. He knew, you know, that he might not, or something could happen, but that he was going to do his best regardless.
So, wow.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And, you know, for those people who are looking, you got to look at, I think it's Justice for Corporal Aldrotti.
Yeah.
You want to talk about somebody who got railroaded.
I mean, and then rode the roller coaster, thought he was home free, and I can't say that is an injustice beyond injustices, that you were cleared, and now you're right back in the jackpot. I mean, facing, you know, pretty drastic...
Facing murder.
Yeah, circumstances. I mean, this is no joke. And the other dynamic I see is that two parents... and the love of a child. Doesn't matter how old they are, and the amount of energy. And I know we don't like the word advocate, but advocacy and going out there and getting the truth out there and hearing the story and engaging other people, a parent's love and a child's.
That's why I named it A Cop's Parents, because, you know, Salvatore is unfortunate in his professional life, but he is incredibly fortunate in his personal life to have Drew and Barbara there. And Barbara comes on a lot of the Instagram live. She's just part of my family. We talk occasionally. We'll send each other guests, you know, or I'll send her to a show. I'll make this introduction. She'll send me a guest, whatever it may be. And it's not a transactional thing. It's just when stuff pops up. But, you know, they travel around the country because Salvatore, because he's still in a legal battle, cannot speak for himself. As a matter of fact, they got a fundraiser coming up in February in the Philly area. They're Philly fans, so I'm okay with them.
Of course.
course.
But I mean, here's the family that this creates. So I'm in February, in February, I'm in Philly with my kids, and we're at the Super Bowl parade. So I call Barbara up and I said, hey, is Drew working today? Because I figure it's all hands on deck for that stuff. There's 1 million people in downtown Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's over at this place. So we go over there, we see Drew, he's all kitted up and everything, and he's a SWAT guy. And we leave him, and he's like, hey, do you need, he was trying to help me out. He's like, hey, park your car over here and stuff. So I was like, no, we're parked on the other side. He's like, hey, you can go right here, sends us over to a place. There's a shooting right where Drew was.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, just follows you around like a bad penny.
Yeah, there's a shooting there, but and I'm calling Barbara. I'm like, there was a shooting over there. Is Drew okay? But that's here's somebody I met a couple times. You know, I talked to him a couple times, and he's willing to do that for me. Just somebody who we know.
The love and energy that they have for their son is just really, it's compelling, the episode and just overall in a concept.
You know how I got in contact with him?
How?
Matt Cox called me.
Really?
Yeah, from the Inside True Crime podcast. Matt Cox used to be #1 on the FBI's most wanted list, probably the most dangerous man I've ever met in my life. And he's not physically foreboding, but he's intellectually probably the dangerous man on the planet.
Yeah, you see him on the home title lock commercials too. Yeah. He talks about how to defraud and get the title.
Yeah, Matt calls me up and says like, "Yeah, you gotta listen. You gotta check these people out. I think they're perfect for you." And he was 100% correct.
Spot on that one.
It's all right. I sent Matt somebody the other day. All right, so this is my last one, okay? And it's one that just aired 2 episodes back. And the reason it was so impactful because we heard the real story from the person that it happened to. But what we don't realize that when trauma hits us, it doesn't just hit us. There is shrapnel that falls onto those people around them. And that's Francesca Lillo talking about the suffering of a father's crime. Her father, Dom Lillo, was arrested, fired, thrown in jail. He's a former Bayonne cop. And she was a young child, but we got to look at the repercussions on her. So, Drew, could you just roll that one? I know it's fresh in everybody's mind, but just let's roll it again.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Your father gets into a little bit of trouble.
We were at like a neighbor's party, and I saw my parents walking out of the courthouse.
A cop accused of excessive force before, facing the same allegations again. He made his first court appearance today on charges he beat a victim so viciously he knocked his teeth out.
Sade, Officer Domenico Lillo, a 14-year veteran with the Bayonne Police Department, has been suspended without pay pending a judge's ruling in this federal case.
All of a sudden, things just go boom.
Like, my dad was cool. Like, my dad saved people. My dad helped people.
Your father did a job that they make movies out of.
They told me, like, oh, like, your dad did something bad and he has to go away for it, and not understanding what was going on.
We often don't think about the ripple effects that we have to our children as a father.
I hated my dad.
Did you feel any of the stress that was going on in the house?
I fought a lot. I had a lot of panic attacks.
You had gone through something that was so traumatic.
And then the kitchen table chair went flying.
Without a father figure there, the pressure on your mother had to be gigantic.
How's your dad doing? That's all I ever got from parents was I would overhear things in the middle of the classroom, or if I'm leaving the classroom, like teachers talk. Oh, I feel so bad for her. We knew this was gonna happen. Like, oh, you just saw your dad in prison.
You're becoming that person they don't want to hang around. So your father's mistake is now having repercussions on you.
I still don't think I processed it to this day. My dad does not belong with these people.
Your behavior is not surprising.
I feel like my anger was higher. Like, really, like, it was like, I would, like, get mad over, like, little things.
When children suffer, it's always a little bit more tragic.
I stopped answering phone calls, emails, I hated him.
You just don't see it. You don't realize it. You think that you're going through it and you're going through it alone, but those around you get it too.
Yeah. And now to sort of see the follow-up of what happens, because it reverberates throughout the family. You think, you're the lightning rod for this entire trauma. This is just yours. But now you see the other perspective through the child's eyes. And she was a child at the time, when this happened. So there was suffering throughout the whole family, and how they rebuild those relationships. And you like to see those relationships rebuilt, of course.
So one of the way how that all came about, that episode, Dom had sent me a letter that his daughter wrote for college.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you got to read this. And I read this letter, and it was how she was hurt. She was hurt by the way the whole thing went down, not just because her father did something wrong and he went to jail. She was hurt by the way it was communicated to her. And she really talks about that in her episode. She was hurt by that. She didn't know how much it hurt her until she became an adult. But this is a woman who still lives in the same town that all this stuff happened to, and people are chirping behind her back. I mean, you're the town
pariah.
You're the gossip fence post that everybody just throws stuff up against. So it's hard for them to live.
And then a child that's already, a teenage girl's already going through growing pains in the best of circumstances. Throw their father getting thrown in prison, convicted and thrown in prison. I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah, so she's a very admirable young lady. I think she's got a great story to tell. This was her first podcast that she's ever done. I couldn't believe it when I asked Dom, I'm like, would she come in and talk about this? And she said, yeah, she'll come in and talk. And sure enough, she did.
She did.
She let it out.
Yeah. A lot of good details in there. Gory.
Yeah.
But,
I just thought that was a great one. So why don't you go with your last one?
So I will say there's another one that I have here, but it's really akin to the same one, almost like Barbara and Drew Aldrotti. And that was the suffering of a cop's mom with Amy Grace.
Amy Grace, yes, that's right.
So a very similar episode, but there's more to that story because Salvatore is still fighting that battle. In this one, it shows the mother's perspective of their son being a police officer, going through a use of force incident, and how that plays out. So, Drew, why don't you put that one up there?
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
And I get a text from my son, and all it said was, "I'm okay, I'll call you when I can."
Now charged with murder in the shooting death of Eddie Irizarry.
Former Philadelphia police officer Mark Dial surrendered to police today before being formally charged in Irizarry's murder.
Oh, you thought you knew what worry was. You're really going to find out what worry is now.
I'm frantic, I'm devastated, I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
This is not about you.
They're already reporting it on the news. I'm in a waiting game. I'm so confused, so upset. And almost inconsolable because I don't know. You just want to talk to them. You want to know, are you okay? What happened?
That is not why you sign up for this job, in order to go kill people or shoot people. That's not what happens. Unfortunately, sometimes it does happen.
I don't understand what happened. He said, "Mom, I'm not ready to talk about it." I don't think I slept much at night. Inconsolable, crying for most of the night.
And they bring down an indictment on him.
The department is firing him.
Something doesn't sound right there.
They had made a decision to indict him on first-degree murder.
Now you find out your son's going to be arrested. He's going to go to jail.
It was too much. Am I ever going to have any moment in my life again that I'm okay? Because at that time, I did not feel like I would.
Is my son going to go away for the rest of his natural days? Is he going to ever get out? Is he ever going to see the sunlight?
Oh, listen, there was a lot of anxiety.
Philadelphia has always been a dangerous place.
About the city's a tough place. I'm a basket case. I still don't know what happened. What are we doing here?
So now you get there, and it's a mom's worst nightmare. Getting that phone call and not knowing all the details. Similarly, like when you were involved in your shooting and you had to give the quick call, to the missus and say, "Hey, I've been involved in this. I'm okay, but I can't tell you anything more." And this story just evolves from that, and how they go through those trials and tribulations and eventually to some type of normalcy, if there is such a thing. afterwards.
Her son, Mark Dial, was arrested, convicted, went to jail. As a police officer going into a jail, as you know very intimately, you're not very popular.
No.
You're always going to be looked at as a threat, as somebody who maybe might give somebody street credibility while you're in there. So you're constantly living with this hyper state of anxiety unless you get put in solitary confinement, which not all of them do. But Amy had to sit back and watch her little baby, who she raised from a little baby, and go through this horrible event, and her hands are tied. There's nothing she can do. She can't take this away. She, as a father, I don't know how I would react to it. Hopefully I never do have to figure that out.
Likewise.
So that's it, dude. That's it.
Season 5.
Season 5 is a wrap. We got 2 episodes coming up in the beginning of January, which will officially end season 5. I did something very special. I worked very, very hard on producing something because a lot of people haven't heard the origin story. This is a true origin story, and I want you to look out for that because you get some really, really good information, and you also get one of my greatest friends in the world. You get to see how I met them.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
So that's going to do it for this episode, and that's going to do it for this season of the Suffering Podcast. We say goodbye to season 5. I want everybody to know that every warrior has wounds, but there's one thing I'm going to tell you. If you're here and you have that suffering story and you have that pain inside of you, what it's going to do for you eventually, you have to give it time. What it's going to do for you eventually is it's going to make you a stronger person, and that pain now becomes your power. And then once you let that power out into the world, who knows who it's going to affect? Who knows who you're going to be able to lift up that ladder that you were once climbing? Because in reality, that's who we aspire to be. So thank you for joining us this season on season 5 of the Suffering Podcast. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. And of course, follow us on all social media. But before you follow us on all social media, let's get to the real stuff. Let's get to the stuff that we learned. The story arcs we've had are second to none. The ebb and flow of a guest makes or breaks an episode. We learned that monsters are real. Our guests, we get to know them on a personal and deep level where they actually become part of our family. Our trauma ripples to others, but most importantly, Tom, we got a great family.
We sure do.
And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, OnlyFans. Follow Tom at The Tom Flynn across every platform. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And of course, don't forget to follow the Suffering Podcast. We will see you next season.